So, without a warm-up, I'm just going to read this text that I start to write after my punted appeal. And okay, so I made this ugly rant text yesterday. It is supposed to put things in perspective from analysis. Not only is it filled with orality, but it is absolutely a text-conveyed oral thought. It is only understandable because personally my orality is pseudo to the point of having a miserable but noticeable degree of literal compilation. I can't stand the idea of not thinking like this without throwing away my 9,000 day life experience. I don't believe in non-verbal thinking because everything is describable, and I hunger for data and complexity, to be honest. Fundamentally, I believe I'm displaying problem-seeking behavior, that this high volume is a mix of a caffeine high and the necessity for resources of problem-solving. My next topic of interest is attention span and perspective memory added with a mix of commentaries of what I think is wrong, set to cause pain and pleasure in the rational realm. It will cover how rewards absolutely shape behavior and how planning is done. So planning, let's talk planning. The MBTI test is about 4 binary classifications of people and can be done in many ways, but it's mostly done poorly enough. I can't say I like how personalities are not put in a hierarchy publicly, but so far I'm interested in classifying people with one binary category ultimately, either ESTJ-T or INFP-A. T and A are for turbulent and assertive. The way these terms are formally defined is the most important deal here. Assertive people are self-assertive, turbulent people self-turbulent. This is not others' description, but your own. Assertive people are lazy and more likely to work on weekends, not to generally grow as the days go by, nor to generally grow. Grow as in, learning something. They have a high sense of themselves and instinctively avoid situations that ruin this fragile narcissism. One of my observations is that ESTJ-T types are likely to develop that verbal knowledge to an extent of the absolute dominance of INFP-A types, making the latter closer to animals in the most impressive measurements. I assure to you that modern problem, low attention spans, and optimistic multitasking happen due to a global shift towards the INFP-A type. So, in order to prove my hypothesis, let's read up on the Wikipedia article called personality type. Personality type refers to the psychological classification of different types of individuals. Personality types are sometimes distinguished from personality traits, with the latter embodying a smaller grouping of behavioral tendencies. Types are sometimes said to involve qualitative differences between people, whereas traits might be construed as quantitative differences. According to type theories, for example, introverts and extroverts are two fundamentally different categories of people. According to trait theories, introversion and extroversion are part of a continuous dimension, with many people in the middle. Clinically effective personality typologies. Effective personality typologies reveal an increased knowledge and understanding of individuals, as opposed to diminishing knowledge and understanding as occurs in the case of stereotype. Ineffective typologies also allow for increased ability to predict clinically relevant information about people and to develop effective treatment strategies. There is an extensive literature on the topic classifying the various types of human temperament and an equally extensive literature on personality traits or domains. These classification systems attempt to describe normal temperament and personality and emphasize the predominant features of different temperament and personality types. They are largely the province of the discipline of psychology. Personality disorders, on the other hand, reflect the work of psychiatry, a medical specialty, and are disease-oriented. They are classified in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, DSM, a product of the American Psychiatric Association. Types versus traits. The term type has not been used consistently in psychology and has become the source of some confusion. Furthermore, because personality test scores usually fall on a bell curve, rather than in distinct categories, personality type theories have received considerable criticism among psychometric researchers. One study that directly compared a type instrument, the MBTI, to a trait instrument, the NEOPI, found that the trait measure was a better predictor of personality disorders. Because of these problems, personality type theories have fallen out of favor in psychology. Most researchers now believe that it is impossible to explain the diversity of human personality with a small number of discrete types. They recommend trait models instead, such as the 5-factor model. Let's take a look at the 5-factor model. Yeah, it's some kind of the MBTI classification. Let's take a look. The Big Five personality traits, also known as the 5-factor model (FFM), is a model based on common language descriptors of personality lexical hypothesis. These descriptors are grouped together using a statistical technique called factor analysis, i.e. this model is not based on experiments. This widely examined theory suggests 5 broad dimensions used by some psychologists to describe a human personality and psyche. The 5 factors have been defined as openness to experience, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism, often listed under the acronyms OCEAN or CANO. Beneath each proposed global factor, a number of correlated, more specific primary factors are claimed. For example, extroversion is said to include such related qualities as gregariousness, assertiveness, excitement-seeking, warmth, activity, and positive emotions. Oh, that's a lot of bullshit. Extroversion, okay, 5 factors. Let's see a better explanation on these 5. Openness to experience. So, inventive, curious versus consistent, cautious. So you're inventive or curious, or you are consistent or cautious. Appreciation for art, emotion, adventure, unusual ideas, curiosity, and variety of experience. Openness reflects the degree of intellectual curiosity, creativity, and preference for novelty and variety a person has. It is also described as the extent to which a person is imaginative or independent, and depicts a personal preference for a variety of activities over a strict routine. So basically a hippie. High openness can be perceived as unpredictability or lack of focus, or wow. Moreover, individuals with high openness are said to pursue self-actualization, specifically by seeking out intense euphoric experiences such as skydiving, living abroad, gambling, etc. Conversely, those with low openness seek to gain fulfillment through perseverance and are characterized as pragmatic and data-driven, sometimes even perceived to be dogmatic and close-minded. Some disagreement remains about how to interpret and contextualize the openness factor. Conscientiousness, I don't know how they pronounce this, efficient organized versus easygoing careless. Okay, a tendency to be organized and dependable. Shows self-discipline, act dutifully, aim for achievement, and prefer plan rather than spontaneous behavior. High conscientiousness is often perceived as stubborn and obsessive. Low conscientiousness are flexible and spontaneous but can be perceived as sloppy and unreliable. Extroversion. Outgoing, energetic versus solitary, reserved. Okay. So, you can be extroverted and not open to experience. And can also be inventive and efficient and organized. Is that correct? It seems to be something rare, somewhat. Okay, extroversion, outgoing, energetic versus solitary, reserved. Energy, positive emotions, urgency, assertiveness, urgency, I don't know this word, sociability, and the tendency to seek stimulation in the company of others. And talkativeness, high extroversion is often perceived as attention-seeking and domineering. Low extroversion causes a reserved, reflective personality, which can be perceived as aloof or self-absorbed. The next one is cockiness. Okay, no, it's agreeableness. Friendly, compassionate versus analytical, detached. I've got to be fucking kidding me. Analytical or friendly, you can't be both. A tendency to be compassionate and comparative rather than suspicious and antagonistic towards others. It is also measured one's trust in helpful nature, and whether a person is generally well-tempered or not. High agreeableness is often seen as naive or submissive. Low agreeableness, personalities are often competitive or challenging people, which can be seen as argumentative or untrustworthy. Neuroticism, sensitive, nervous versus secure and confident. The tendency to experience unpleasant emotions easily, such as anger, anxiety, depression, vulnerability. Neuroticism also refers to the degree of emotional stability and impulse control and is sometimes referred to by its low. Emotional stability. A high need for stability manifests as a stable and calm personality, but can be seen as uninspiring and unconcerned. A low need for stability causes a reactive and excitable personality, often very dynamic individuals, and they can be perceived as unstable or insecure. Okay, so let's read up on Carl Jung. One of the more influential ideas originating in the theoretical work of Carl Jung was published in the book Psychological Types. The original German language edition, Psychologische Typen, was first published in Rasche Verlag, Zurich in 1921. Typologies such as socionics, the MBTI assessment, and the Class A temperament disorder have roots in Jungian theory. Jung's interest in typology grew from his desire to reconcile the theories of Sigmund Freud and Alfred Adler, and to define how his own perspective differed from theirs. Jung wrote, in attempting to answer this question, he came across the problem of types, with one psychological type which from the outset determines and limits a person's judgment He concluded that Freud's theory was extroverted and Adler's introverted. Jung became convinced that acrimony between the Adlerian and Freudian camps was due to this unrecognized existence of different fundamental psychological attitudes, which led Jung to conceive the two controversial theories of neurosis as manifestations of a type antagonism. Four functions of consciousness. In the book, Jung categorized people into primary types of psychological function. Jung proposed the existence of two dichotomous pairs of cognitive functions: the rational, judging functions, thinking and feeling. I don't like the word rational and irrational. I pretty much prefer the word logic and illogic. Because rational, unlike logic, seems to be something you can't really pin what exactly it is. What is rational and what is irrational? Logical seems to be something that, due to its own definition, must be based on axioms and consistency, and basically the ability to speak implies a level of logic abilities. So let's understand this as logical and illogical instead of rational and irrational. Okay, the logical, judging functions, thinking and feeling, and the other one is irrational, perceiving functions, which would be illogical functions, sensation, intuition. I don't think sensation is irrational. I don't know. Okay, Jung went on to suggest that these functions are expressed in either an introverted or extroverted form. According to Jung, the psyche is an apparatus for adaptation and orientation consists of a number of different psychic functions. Among these, he distinguishes four basic functions: sensation, perception by means of immediate apprehension of a visible relationship between subject and object; intuition, perception of processes in the background, e.g. unconscious drives and or motivations of other people; thinking, function of intellectual cognition, the forming of logical conclusions. Wow, so that's thinking, and that's a kind of rational function. Okay, so thinking is the forming of logical conclusions. Let's see what feeling is. Function of subjective estimation, value-oriented thinking. No way that's feeling. Wow, man, that's so autistic. Thinking and feeling functions are rational, while sensation and intuition are non-rational. According to Jung, rationality consists of figurative thoughts. Feelings are actions with reason, a point of view based on objective value, which is set by practical experience. Non-rationality is not based in reason. Jung notes that elementary facts are also non-rational, not because they are illogical, but because as thoughts they're not judgments. Okay, let's see the definitions for extrovert and introvert, which I think are quite important to be laid out before any critical thinking starts to settle in this episode. Attitudes, extroversion and introversion. Analytical psychology distinguishes several psychological types of temperaments. Extrovert, Jung's spelling, although some dictionaries prefer the variant extrovert, and introvert. Extroversion means outward turning. Extroversion means outward turning, and introversion means inward turning. These specific definitions vary somewhat from the popular usage of the words. The preferences for extroversion and introversion are often called attitudes. Each of the cognitive functions can operate in the external world of behavior, action, people, and things. Extroverted attitude, or the internal world of ideas and reflection. Introverted attitude. People who prefer extroversion draw energy from action. They tend to act, then reflect, then act further. If they are inactive, their motivation tends to decline. To review their energy, extroverts need breaks from time spent in reflection. Conversely, those who prefer introversion expend energy through action. They prefer to reflect, then act, then reflect again. Okay, so let's stop a little. So no way there is a clear difference between these two types, because we know from physics, right, that a moving human body is spending energy, is burning fat, it's using its sugar glucose levels. So no one is able to actually not feel like they're spending energy through action. You essentially feel it. What I think this is one of the two symptoms of depression. I think the term is akinesia, that is no movement. The first one is anhedonia. First one is anhedonia. Second one is akinesia. So if you still have anhedonia, for example, and then you start to take a medication that reduces akinesia, you know, a medication that probably increases the dopamine levels in some part of your brain, then there is actually a higher risk of suicide. I'm not certain if this medication has to be about dopamine alone. It could be what they call an SSRI, that is a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. So I think that any catecholamine, you know, catecholamines are serotonin, adrenaline, and dopamine. These three chemicals that neurotransmitters, right? They are all on the catecholamines class. I don't know if that's the correct name. I think it's catecholamine. You can look it up later. And to rebuild their energy, introverts need quiet time alone. Okay, what the fuck is this, man? So an extrovert doesn't need to sleep. Okay, I think I understand the point. Some people need to sleep for, I don't know, 9 hours a day, and other people need to sleep for 6 hours a day. I think I'm more likely to sleep 6 hours a day. So, and I do have a need to talk to people. Yeah, I do feel like I can't stay alone for more than a day. Maybe I can satisfy this feeling with a internet connection, right? Maybe I can be more lonely in the real world while at the same time having conversations with internet balls. Okay, so an extrovert's flow is directed outward toward people and objects, and an introvert is directed inward towards concepts and ideas. No fucking way, man. This is incredibly wrong. An introvert is not like this. An introvert is not really about developing that which is valuable and we call an idea. No, an extrovert is probably more able to do so. And I would say that an introvert is actually a weak or weakened extrovert. He's unable to process a social situation due to, I don't know, disease or genetic makeup, or I believe it's mostly a habit forming characteristic, and contrasting characteristics between extroverts and introverts include the following. Okay. So therefore, extroverts are action-oriented, while introverts are thought-oriented. Okay, I think I believe this. Extroverts seek breadth of knowledge and influence, while introverts seek depth of knowledge and influence. What's this breadth and depth? Okay. I don't know, man. Not necessarily, man. I think extroverts. Yeah, I do see extroverts being more interest in covering a lot of subject. I don't know. It feels like they do that to be prepared for the possibility of having to use a broad variety of knowledge. But I don't see them as not interested in going deep in such subjects. I do actually think that this depth that introverts often claim to have is something hard to prove as not fabricated. You know, it's, for example, introverts that were busy with the formal logic that people were doing the start of the last century. They simply were like blind doing some intellectual work. Probably they shouldn't be there. Probably they were taking the position of people who could do better stuff than what they were doing. And there was this idea after Russell's refutation of set theory that all of mathematics could be put into a finite, small set of actions. Okay, and it turns out to be wrong. Okay, next. Extroverts often prefer more frequent interaction, and while introverts prefer more substantial interaction. Not really. Extroverts recharge and get their energy from spending time with people. It's more like we get a momentum going, right? While introverts recharge and get their energy from spending time alone. It's because they have some, I don't know, I think introverts have some kind of maniac episodes, and they can only have these maniac episodes in certain situations, mostly in their rooms. Okay, the attitude type could be thought as the flow of libido, psychic energy, libido. The functions are modified by two main attitude types, extroversion and introversion. In any person, that degree of introversion or extroversion of one function can be quite different from that of another function. Okay, so let's go back to what I've written in the beginning of this recording. I said, one of my observations is that ESTJ-T types are likely to develop that verbal knowledge to an extent of absolute dominance of INFP-A types. Okay, INFP-A types is introvert, intuitive, feeling, and prospective, that is P, and the A stands for assertive, right? And then there is the dominant type, that is ESTJ-T. E stands for extrovert, S stands for observant, T stands for thinking, G stands for judging, and T stands for turbulent. Okay, so it's an absolute dominance of the INFP-A types, making the latter closer to animals in the most impressive measures. I assure to you that moderate problem of low attention spans and hedonistic multitasking happen due to a global shift towards the INFP-A type, yes. So I have to prove that there is a global shift towards the INFP-A type. Okay, the F classification, that classification is about feeling, about sensation, is about, you know, the experiences that people supposed to have in a meditation session, you know, and it would be actually something you don't know how to describe, or maybe something that you could describe, but you don't have the habit to describe it, and maybe there are no words for such a description that people would get. Okay, P stands for someone who improvises a lot. I think it's called perspective, but this is a bad word for it. Perspective implies, you know, planning. You know, perspective thinking is about. I do understand this though, because, you know, perspective thinking is about short-term planning. You know, so this could be seen as improvising. But the questionnaire that they use to classify people as either judgment type or P type is if they are more likely to plan ahead, and, you know, and from the definition of the word perspective, if you're planning like 5 minutes ahead, you're likely to plan like 10 minutes ahead, and then you're likely to plan 20 minutes ahead, and so on and so on. If you don't plan 5 minutes ahead, what you think you're doing is actually using something that you're not used to. You are using, I don't know, adrenaline to think ahead a few moves, but you don't find such comfort in this situation. And, you know, the next classification, the assertive type, is something that explains why people call themselves improvisers. Because no one who is a logical person will be proud to be an improviser. But people do it with some pride. They do make the statement that they have the ability to improvise, and they don't need to prepare for stuff, and they do this in the assertive manner. And they are likely to be introverts, but to have a a kind of masquerade to when they're talking to people, and, you know, they're introverts, but they're pretending to be something else, and they get really spent at social interactions, but they do like that people have a good opinion of them. You know, introverts, I would say introverts have necessarily some social anxiety. Otherwise, they wouldn't be introverts. So if they have social anxiety, they are happy to know that people like them, and so they are more likely to be assertive. Not in that kind of manner, not in a warrior-like manner. It's not about actually fighting against problems. in problematic situations, it's more about doing something that's easy to do day after day, and avoiding to talk about bad things is certainly what people like to see as assertive. An assertive trait would be talking about positive thinking. No way you're talking about positive thinking and you are not an assertive type. Not in my model of people. Okay, so if you are either observant or intuitive, I think goes hand in hand. If you are an extrovert or an introvert, I don't see the possibility that you can be an introvert and at the same time be observant. And I don't think that it's possible to be an extrovert and not be observant. So that's why I'm thinking of only two types, and they are logical complements. Okay, an ESTJ, turbulent, and an INFP-A, that is assertive, are actually logical complements, and they have all the possible characteristics that could define a spectrum and could set apart two kinds of people. And anything that's like a mix of the two is something in between, but these are the two extremes in my vision. Okay, so let's see about the function of domination, or the dominant function. So when you're talking about the first two classifications, that is introverted, extroverted, and observant and intuitive, the right term for observant, the term that they're using is sensation, but in the sense that using your senses, like your vision, to observe the world. And there is a clear domination between these types, these iterations, and I don't think that's correct, because I'm just reading this now. But I think it's correct to say that the lowest type of person here is the introverted, who has the biggest trait as feeling. And then there is the extroverted, who also is feeling, and then there is a introverted thinking, extroverted thinking, the introverted intuition, introverted sensation, and extroverted sensation. I think these are well classified here. So let's move on. So what we want to know now is how to test people, if they are basically extroverts or introverts. We can't just ask them, because they will use different definitions of these words. They probably won't even get to understand the questions that they have to answer and how the test is being done. And I think that explaining the test to them is also not a good idea, because they may almost certainly cheat on the test. And so, supposing that they're not cheating, and supposing that they do understand the definitions, they certainly don't have the same definitions. They know what a word is, but they don't know if something is, I don't know how mathematical they are trying to measure something. For example, if the question is, do you like to go to work? What do you mean by liking to go to work? Okay, I like to go to work if I actually go to work. So I do like to go to work. But if they do think that, no, I actually would like to go to work, if it was such a fun experience, and if I would do it for free, then that's the situation I like to go to work. So it doesn't matter what definition we are using, but what matters is the relations between the individuals, and if the test is being applied by someone else who is not the interviewed. It must be done in a way that you can almost prove that such person is an introvert. For example, for there to be an extroversion in, I don't know, in someone who is really not a people person, like they say, There must be another thing that you can use to prove that this person is an extrovert. Then you have to be consistent with this characteristic, and whenever you find it, you have to say this person is an extrovert. So let's read a list on the Big 5 personality traits article and what they call openness. Openness is a general appreciation for art, emotion, adventure, unusual ideas, imagination, curiosity, and variety of experience. In my understanding, this reflects the amount of serotonin they have on their system and how serotonergic their system is. People who are open to experience are intellectually curious, open to emotions, sensitive to beauty, and willing to try new things. They tend to be, when compared to close people, more creative and more aware of their feelings. They are also more likely to hold unconventional beliefs. A particular individual, however, may have a high overall openness score and be interested in learning and exploring new cultures, but have no great interest in art or poetry. A particular individual, however, may have a high overall openness score. Okay. I have excellent ideas. Simple items. Okay, let's read the simple items. I have excellent ideas. I'm quick to understand things. Wow. I use difficult words. I'm full of ideas. I'm not interested in abstractions. This is the opposite. Okay, reversed. I do not have good imagination. Reversed. I have difficulty understanding abstract ideas. Reversed. Okay, so that's the problem of letting people give their own answers to these questions. I'm more of a negative thinking kind of person. So if I'm going to answer this, I'm going to say that I'm not interested in abstractions, that I do not have a good imagination, and that I have difficulty understanding abstract ideas. But I know that I'm way above a bunch of fucking idiots that will say I have excellent ideas, I'm quick to understand things, and I use difficult words, and I'm full of ideas. Okay? I probably think, I probably believe, I probably rightfully believe that the common sense meaning for the word abstract is wrong, because I come from a STEM background, and abstract actually means simple. It means a simple statement. It's the opposite of complex ideas. I have difficulty understanding complex ideas. For example, the idea of a human life is a complex idea, but when you break the idea of a human life into smaller ideas, then you have abstractions defined in the realm of a human life. And generally, for example, if we're talking about numbers and colors, then certainly we're talking about abstractions. The concept of time, a time unit, for example, is an abstraction. Is a simplification, is something that you can add up with all the abstractions in order to build a complexity. Okay, so this is fucking stupid. Conscientiousness is a tendency to display self-discipline, act dutifully, and strive for achievement against measures or outside expectations. It is related to the way in which people control, regulate, and direct their impulses. High scores on conscientiousness indicate preference for planned rather than spontaneous behavior. The average level of conscientiousness rises among young adults and then declines among older adults. Simple items. I'm always prepared. I pay attention to details. I get chores done right. Okay, so let's just check this one. I pay attention to details. This proves that my correlation between the observant and the planning type is correct. That someone who is observant is also likely to pay attention to details. We already know that both of these also associate to the extrovert type. They are more interested in looking around them. They are more likely to use the words here, and they are more likely to know the geography around them and whatever. I get chores done right away. Okay, I like order. Okay, I follow a schedule. I'm exacting in my work. Okay, so for reversed, I leave my belongings around. Reversed. I make a mess of things. Reversed. I often forget to put things back in their proper place. Reversed. I shirk my duties. Shirk my duties. I don't know this word. Okay, so I probably answered these four, even though I am quite certain that I have much more order in my life than a lot of people that will answer that they have always the things prepared, they get the chores done right away, and they like order and whatever. Okay, let's see the simple items of extroversion. Oh no, man, what the fuck am I doing in my life? Look at this first item. I'm the life of a party. No, hey, I don't mind being the center of attention. I feel comfortable around people. I start conversations. I talk to a lot of different people at parties. Okay, yeah, I do. I do start conversations. I do talk to a lot of different people at parties, and I do I do completely turn off my shyness when I want you. The only thing, the only thing holding me back in these situations is if I'm fearing for my life, or if I'm fearing that some hot chick will find me too, I don't know, too smiley. Okay, the reverse are, I don't talk a lot. I think a lot before I speak or act. I don't like to draw attention to myself. I'm quiet around strangers. I have no intention of talking in large crowds. Okay, so certainly these are five things that I would agree with. I don't talk a lot. I just talk like 10,000 words a day. I know that's a bit both average, like at least 5 times the average for men, but I don't think that's a lot. Okay, I think a lot before I speak or act. Yeah, I do think a lot before I speak or act. Maybe months and weeks, maybe days and weeks and months and years before I actually act, because I'm planning ahead. And if I'm doing something, I also plan ahead. So I am thinking a lot before I speak or act. I don't like to draw attention to myself. Seriously, I don't fucking like to draw attention to myself. I don't know, man. I don't think I think that's just a sign of mental health, you know? Are you a attention whore? No. So I don't like to draw attention to myself. Okay, I'm quiet around strangers. Yeah, I'm fucking quiet around strangers. They're fucking strangers. I have no intention of talking in large crowds. Reversed. Yeah, I'm not the guy that starts to shitpost in real life to a large crowd. And, you know, if I'm going to do that, I pretty much have to have something important to say. If I do have something important to say, I think it's way possible that I will do it. I have no intention about it. I will tough it up. Yeah, agreeableness. This is not so important. Agreeableness, neuroticism. Okay. Okay. So lastly, I would like actually to talk about conscientiousness because I stopped recording for a while and I shit posted on Skype, and then I actually read a little about conscientious with a T, and it says that being highly conscientious may add as much as 5 years to one's life. And the big five personality traits also predict positive health outcomes. In an elderly Japanese temple, conscientiousness, extroversion, and openness were related to lower risk of mortality. Okay, I don't think openness is a good trait, but I'll let that one slide. Okay, so conscientiousness. Conscientiousness is the personality trait of being careful or vigilant. Okay, an observant and a rather, I don't know, maybe someone who's a negative thinker. I would say, yeah, that is someone conscientiousness. Well, that is someone with conscientiousness, which is a new word I didn't know until this day that there was such a word. Okay, conscientiousness implies a desire to do a task well. Oh, right. So they have a strong negative feedback. That's what I call negative thinking. Conscientious people are efficient and organized, as opposed to easygoing and disorderly. They exhibit a tendency to show self-discipline, act dutifully, and aim for achievement. They display plan rather than spontaneous behavior, and they're generally organized and dependable. They have a more functional anterior cingulate cortex, ACC, than the average person. It is manifested in characteristic behaviors such as being neat and systematic. Also, including such elements as carefulness, thoroughness, and deliberation, the tendency to think carefully before acting. Conscientiousness is one of the 5 traits of the 5-factor model personality and is an aspect of what has traditionally been referred to as having character. Conscientious individuals are generally hardworking and reliable. They are also likely to be conformists. Okay, so here was what I'm trying to say. If someone is conscientious, they are more likely to think that they are lazy. Okay, so that's the main point about this, and that's what adds up to 5 years of increased lifespan. Oh man, I just worked for 10 hours today. Man, I'm fucking lazy. What the hell am I doing in my life? When taken to an extreme, they may also be workaholics, perfectionists, and compulsive in that behavior. Okay, so this kind of person, the workaholic, the perfectionist, and the compulsive, are people that you can expect to live 5 years longer than the average. Okay, they're people with lots of stress in their lives, and I don't know. That's something that I can infer. Probably there are more models about this. Oh, okay, there are personality models. Conscientiousness is one of 5 major dimensions in the B5 model. Okay, which consists of extroversion, narcissism, blah, blah, blah. Two of many personality tests that assess that traits. Those traits are Corsa, McRae's, Neo-PIR, and Goldberg's Neo-IPIP. According to these models, conscientiousness is considered to be a continuous dimension of personality rather than a categorical type of person. Certainly. Conscientiousness is related to impulse control, but it should not be confused with problems of impulse control associated with the personality traits. I think I'm gonna get a fucking beer now. Impulse control. Right. Recently, conscientiousness has been broken down further into two aspects: orderliness and industrious. The former, which is associated with the desire to keep things organized and tidy; the latter, which is associated more closely with productivity and work ethic. Okay, so this brings up an interesting topic. One of the things that I found out to be actually true is that if you want to increase productivity, it seems that if you just try to be organized and if you just try to keep things tidy, if you look at your files in your computer, and if you look at your desk situation, and if you take a look around your house, and then if you take a look around your neighborhood, you're likely to be industrious as well, because you're keeping these things in mind and you're trying to, I don't know, add things without changing the order, and you need to maintain the order, so you need to work, and you kind of bring it all together and you become productive. That's the way I see it. So this is very interesting, actually. So orderliness and industrious. Okay, conscientiousness along with low openness is also one of the trademarks of political conservatives. Yeah. Lower openness. That's one thing I don't see. There's no way you can be open and have conscientiousness, you know? It's like a double life. Doesn't make sense. Terms such as hardworking, reliable, and persevering describe desirable aspects of character. Yeah. Okay, daily life. Let's see. People who score high on the trait of conscientiousness tend to be more organized and less cluttered in their homes and offices. For example, their books tend to be neatly shelved in alphabetical order or categorized by topic rather than scattered around the room. Their clothes tend to be folded and arranged in drawers or closets instead of lying on the floor. The presence of planners and to-do lists are also signs of conscientiousness. Their homes tend to have better lighting than the homes of people who score low on this trait. Recently, 10 behaviors strongly associated with conscientiousness with this was scientifically categorized the number at the end of each behavior as a correlation coefficient. A negative number means conscientious people were less likely to manifest their behavior. Discuss sexual matters with a male friend. That's a negative 23. Lounge around my house without any clothes on. That's a negative 22. Picked up a hitchhiker. Negative 21. Read a tabloid paper. Negative 19. Drove or rode in a car without a seatbelt. Negative 19. Swore around other people. Negative 18. Spent an hour at a time daydreaming. So if you're daydreaming, and that's a trait of people who are, how do they call it? Open. Yeah. What's the term again? Right, let me check. Yeah, I think it's open. Openness. Cookness. Alright, openness. So daydream is a trait of openness, and then here you're seeing that people who are conscientious, they are less likely to spend an hour daydreaming. And they live 5 years longer, okay? Shopped at a second-hand thrift shop, okay, minus 18. Told a dirty joke, minus 18. Listen to music, wow. Okay, that fucks up my model. That's a plus 18 there. Okay, academic and workplace performance. I think they do like music, because music is noise with order, right? So I'm certain that the kind of music they like is not a casual kind of music, but a more hard to produce kind of music. It could be classic music, or it could be some electronic with some high complexity to it. But it's certainly not a casual habit. I personally don't like music. I think music is a waste of time. I think you can do it with words, simply with words and, basic logic. You don't need music in your life. Okay, health and longevity, according to an 8-year-old and ongoing research started in 1921 by psychologist Louis Derman on over 1,500 gifted adolescents, Californians. Gifted adolescent Californians, the strongest predictor of long life was conscientiousness. Wow. So now I will end this video. That's it. That's fucking it. Nope. I will read some more. Specific behaviors associated with low conscientiousness may explain its influence on longevity. 9 different behaviors that are among the leading causes of mortality: alcohol abuse, disorderly eating, including obesity, drug use, lack of exercise, risky sexual behavior, risky driving, tobacco use, suicide, and violence, are all predicted by low conscientiousness. Okay, health behaviors are more strongly correlated with a conventionality rather than the impulse control aspect of conscientiousness. Apparently, okay, social norms influence many health-relevant behaviors such as healthy diet and exercise, not smoking, moderate drinking, and highly conscientious people adhere the most strongly to these norms. Additionally, conscientiousness is possibly related to health behaviors such as regular visits to a doctor, checking smoke alarms, and adherence to medication regimens. Such behavior may better safeguard health and prevent disease.